Okay, back again. And since we just did a tangent looking at the sheets that you, sketch sheets, grid sheets that you would use to sketch out a site, we call that wireframing. And you could also, there's also in that big download button from the website, there's a Photoshop file and InDesign files and other files you can use to do essentially electronic sketching of these blocks and where you want to move them and so on, which is another option if you prefer to do that. To continue on the tangents, have you noticed this text in here? This is lorem ipsum. It's gibberish text, right? Doesn't make any sense. Is it real? Well, if you do extra credit and you're looking for placeholder text, if you do the second part of this, or sometime in the future you want to, lorem ipsum is the placeholder text that you tend to use. What is it? Where does it come from? Well, if you just Google lorem ipsum, you will get a lot of results, and one of them will be loremipsum.com. And lorem ipsum is the dummy text of the printing and typesetting industry since the 1500s. And so it's tradition. And there's many lorem ipsum generators. And it's all free, by the way, of course. You can say how many paragraphs, words, whatever you want with, and generate it. 5 paragraphs, click the button, and then go select that text and paste it into your HTML file. If this ever comes back, it's very slow right now. But there's some lorem ipsum. You can go ahead and grab it and use it. That's what that is, in case you're wondering. Okay, let's continue on with the exercise, finally. Sorry for these tangents. Okay, so we did that big photo, right? So now we want to do the text that goes beside the photo, right? And this is going to be a div class grid 3 for this school plays are great. Open the div, close the div, and class equals quotation marks grid. I think I said 3 underscore 3. Let's save that. There we go. But we got this little thing, and that's the other header starting to slip up here. It's a floating issue, right? Okay. Let's continue along. This next one is going to be the art one is going to be grid 3 prefix 1. Give it 3 wide and push it over 1. Again, we'll make a div around it. Class equals grid 3. So 3 wide and some space in front of 1. Let's run that. By the way, if you're wondering what this class for this header is here, you can go look at that in the CSS file if you wish. There we are. Oops, sorry, I didn't save my work, did I? Hold on. Did you see my error? There it is. I just spelled it right. Okay, hold on. Okay, we've got, that is correct, but now the movies is flying up there. Let's just do these other 3. There's an art block, a movies block, and a drama music block. They're down below this big sort of centerpiece area. So the movies is going to be grid 3, and the drama music is going to be grid 4. You can do those all at once. Class equals grid 3. Good, and this one, drama, is going to be grid 4. Grid 4. This, of course, all has to be written perfectly, and did you notice earlier when I misspelled class, it's not red anymore. Notepad++ doesn't do a lot for you, but it does recognize HTML if it's set to the HTML language. Okay, this is kind of okay. Well, I guess I screwed up that float. We'll have to take a look at that. But also we've got this footer stuff which is in the wrong place too at the same time. So I have to straighten that out. Hold on. Oh, sorry, typing too fast, making all kinds of mistakes. Did you notice this mistake? Here's my opening div on this grid 3 with the movies, but I didn't really make a closing div. That's why it wasn't being picked up as a div. Actually, it was the middle one was pushing into the grid 4 one that follows it. So this is how it should look, except that footer has a clear problem. It's got nothing attached to it this time. It's not really a clear issue though. What we can go ahead and just do is give this footer, which already has a div around it, a class equals grid 12. It'll go across the entire page as we would wish it to. And that's the page complete as it was envisioned in the sketch. So you can see how it matches up to the sketch, which looks like, here's the sketch, and here is the page. So this is the end of the part 1 of the extra credit. That's great. Save it, zip it, send it up. Now if you want to do part 2, you essentially can start with the same basic files as we're using here in this part 1, except I want you to use different images and imagine a different structure. It still is going to be like an entertainment kind of a site. There are instructions about this, but they're not so specific. You've got to have a little bit of creativity and work on your own here to make this work out. Part 2. I give you a folder structure I want you to use. I've given you a whole zip file of more images to download. Let's take a look. Where's my 960 stuff and my upload? This is what that's going to look like. I'm going to go inside of it. There's all these images, but they're really big images. They're unsized. You're going to take a look through these, decide which images you're going to use, where, how it's going to work with your, and then you're going to make up headings. You're going to use lorem ipsum placeholder text. You're going to imagine the front of a magazine, a local arts magazine kind of a website. With this stuff. Arrange it however you wish. You can change the CSS in other ways as much as you wish. It should definitely be unique, but you should definitely have to be using the grid system. So that's if you want to go into that big time extra credit. And the last thing I want to tell you is something else about the 960 system. Did you notice about all these pages? Well, let's go back to this page that we completed here. This is a fixed page, right? This is fixed in pixel sizes. All that 12 grid system is fixed in pixel sizes. And of course, if I make it narrow, I get the dreaded horizontal scroll bar because it's fixed. But does that mean that grid systems always are fixed? Well, if you're just making a prototype site, you probably don't really much care. Then you would use this to make the site that didn't use the grid system and looked and worked the same. But on the other hand, you can use grid systems in real production pages that really use on websites. But what if you want it to be flexible, fluid, not fixed like this, right? There is another option. And the same guy who made the 960 system also made something called unsemantic. Unsemantic is a grid system, but it's a successor, as it says right here, to the 960 grid system. But it works completely on percentage-based system. So it's completely flexible. It's a really neat idea. I have not used it. If anybody, I encourage you to take a look at it. Consider it for future use for yourself. There's the same help files, demo files to look through. And it also explains the grid system and how it works. There's more documentation here. It's a bit more complicated because it uses percentages, which on a grid is a little bit different. But it's still a great idea for prototyping or maybe actually making production sites. Okay, have fun with the 960 system, and someday take a look at the unsemantic system. And there's many other grid systems out there too.